Ukraine in secret to offer a peace deal, essentially, to Moscow and Kiev, saying that they wanted to, surprisingly, I mean, we've all been kind of wondering why isn't there some sort of peace talk, but apparently they've traveled to Kiev and they've tried to convince Zelensky to give 20% of the territory of Ukraine over to Russia to just cede that territory in exchange for Moscow stopping the assault on Ukraine. There's been a massive amount of debt. They're not really transparent with us on what the real numbers are that's going on over there. We have reports that it's absolutely devastating. We have reports that Moscow is going about another assault and planning an even bigger one, and that the war will be over, essentially. And so what do you make of the why, I think is the big question with all of this talk that we've seen in the media that there's no ending of this war until Russia's gone and all of Ukraine is restored. There's no ending of this war until even Crimea is back in Ukrainian hands. There's no ending this war because if we give any territory to Russia, Russia will do this again, right? There's all of these narratives that we've been hearing, but suddenly now we hear, reported on by the Washington Post, that CIA director went and said, all right, let's end this thing. Why now? What do you think has changed? What's happening that's causing them to say, we want out now?
Well, so a couple of things. First of all, I hadn't seen the Washington Post story. I only read the one in Newsweek, which I thought was a little bit thin. So I'm behind on that. So I remember kind of having some doubts about the Newsweek story, but I hope that it's true. Not
it would be a
specifics,
massive shift in, let's say it is true. Let's just assume.
Sure.
I mean, the Washington Post is, pretty linked to the CIA. So if they're saying the CIA director
Post
went,
itself says,
it's coming right from the CIA's mouth, essentially. So let's just assume it's true. And they were saying, we want to give 20% of the land over. I mean, what is this?
Well, then that means I'm wrong in the
shift?
last thing I said, that these people are completely unwilling to compromise, if that really is true. And it's a very positive sign. And again, on the details, like who the hell am I to give up 20% or some other number percent of somebody else's country? That ain't the point. But the point is that, well, and also I should stipulate, too, that I'm not a military guy and a battlefield expert, and I don't know who to believe about what all claims. I do know that I have always doubted the vastly inflated claims by the Ukrainian government of Russian casualties. And I'm sure they have lost tens of thousands at this point, but I'd guess probably low tens of thousands rather than more than 100,000 in this kind of thing, like the Ukrainians say. I'm less skeptical about those claims about Ukrainian casualties because, after all, it is taking place on their soil. And as you say, it's been an absolutely devastating war. I mean, I don't know the exact number of towns and cities that have been just completely destroyed or at least, completely put out of business for now. And how many people overall have been killed, refugees and whatever. It's a catastrophe.
Yeah, it's terrible. But I think this could be embarrassing. And I think that's maybe why they're now saying, okay, let's end this thing. I think they've realized this is going to get embarrassing really quickly.
Yeah, it could get worse. Yeah, I think there's a very good chance that that's what's going on here. In fact, if you look back at the beginning of November, was when Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and I think presumably representing the other chiefs, came out publicly and said, okay, you guys did a great job taking back Kherson City. Good job. You ought to go to the table right now while you're behind, but not too far behind. Now, to me, I'm inferring a lot out of those statements because it wasn't much. It was 2 or 3 sentences. But it sure sounded like he was telling them, listen, guys, you're going to lose Mariupol. You're not just going to lose the Donbass. You're losing the whole so-called land bridge all the way to Crimea, at least. But you're going to have to accept that. That ship has sailed, and you're done, and we're done, and there's nothing we can do for you enough that's going to change that for you. So you need to come and talk to the Russians now. I mean, if what Milley has in mind is that, the Ukraine would say, fine, you can keep Donetsk and Luhansk, but give up Zaporozhye and all of Kherson. I don't know about that. It may be way too late for that. And this is the real tragedy of this thing, right? Is this war could have been over before it started and soon after it started. But see, once the Ukrainians did their feint in Kherson and then took back the area around Kharkiv and northern Luhansk back in September, the weekend of September 10th and 11th, After that, the Russians said, oh, yeah, well, we hereby officially annex not just the Donbass, Luhansk and Donetsk, but also Zaporozhye and Kherson as well, which is
Yeah.
just huge and was upping the ante in the war. And he signed a law officially making them Russian provinces, the way Ukraine is considered, or any other province inside Russia is considered. So for them to back down from that now, they climbed way up the ladder on that, right? And the Ukrainians, of course, as you say, the Americans and the Ukrainians have said so far they're not going to settle for anything less than the entire country back, and including the Crimean Peninsula. And they're going to have to climb way the hell down from there now too. And really, I don't know who is in a real position of strength. I could infer from what Milley had said that they're really worried about the strength of the Ukrainian military to last for the medium term here. I really don't
Yeah.
know the truth of that, but I can say that this should have been the top priority of all 8 billion humans on this planet from February the 25th is ceasefire. Whatever
Right.
fighting is happening now, stop it and let's work something out. And as you know, they had a very good chance at a deal back at the beginning of the war. And it was the Americans and the British who intervened to prevent that from happening,
Right.
which has got to be the most reckless American foreign policy since Truman nuked Nagasaki. It's
Yeah.
absolutely unbelievable that they would just end blatantly so.
Yeah.
You know?
Scott, thank you so much for being here and sharing your insights. Scott Horton is the director of the Libertarian Institute, editorial director of antiwar.com. He's also going to be speaking at the Rage Against the War Machine rally. That is February 19th. We're both going to be there, as well as many others, really raging against the war machine, talking against all of this endless war. And can't wait to see you there, Scott. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you, Kim.
I want to share my experience with Field of Greens. It's a fantastic product that helps me easily incorporate all the fruits and vegetables I need into my diet. And what sets it apart is that it's made with real, freeze-dried organic fruits and vegetables, not extracts. As someone who struggles to get all of my daily nutrients because I'm busy or I'm following a diet, Field of Greens has been a game changer for me. I feel less hungry throughout the day because my body has the nutrition it needs. Plus, it's versatile and easy to incorporate into my morning chocolate protein shake, or sprinkled onto salads, or mixed into soup, or even just on its own. I really love that lemon lime flavor. If you're looking to improve your nutrition, I really do highly recommend giving Field of Greens a try. And to make it even better, you can use the promo code KIM to get 15% off your first order at fieldofgreens.com. Let me know how you like it and if it's been curbing your desire for junk food like it does for me. So go to fieldofgreens.com, promo code KIM for 15% off your first order.